The afternoon had been quiet until the shouting started. I was repairing the old wooden fence between my property and my wealthy neighbor's mansion when a brand new sports car screeched into the driveway next door. Out stepped Dylan, the neighbor's 22-year-old son, wearing an expensive martial arts jacket, with a black belt tied proudly around his waist. He had recently returned from winning a local tournament, and everyone in the neighborhood had heard about it because his father never stopped talking about it. Dylan noticed me replacing a fence post and smirked. "Still fixing things for yourself? Guess that's what poor people do." I ignored him and kept hammering. He walked closer, cracking his knuckles. "You know, I've been looking for someone to spar with. Maybe you can last a minute." His friends laughed from the driveway. "I don't fight for entertainment," I replied calmly. He stepped closer until we were only a few feet apart. "Scared?" "No," I answered. "Just smarter than that?" Instead of walking away, Dylan shoved my shoulder. The hammer slipped from my hand and landed in the grass. My old dog barked, sensing the tension. His father walked outside, dressed in an expensive suit, and folded his arms. "Go on, son. Show him what real training looks like." Several neighbors began watching from across the street. I sighed. This doesn't have to happen. Dylan raised his fists. Too late. He lunged forward with a fast combination of punches. I sidestepped effortlessly. He spun into a high kick, but I leaned back just enough for it to miss by inches. His confidence began fading. "What are you waiting for?" his father yelled. "Hit him!" Dylan attacked again, faster this time. Every strike missed. I moved only enough to avoid contact, never throwing a punch. The crowd grew silent. Finally, he charged recklessly. I caught his wrist, redirected his momentum, and gently guided him to the ground using the same controlled movement I'd practiced thousands of times years ago. He landed on the grass unharmed but completely pinned. He struggled. He couldn't move. I released him immediately and stepped back. "You okay?" I asked. His face turned bright red. "How did you do that?" one of his friends whispered. Dylan stood slowly. "Lucky move." I shook my head. "Luck has very little to do with discipline." His father stormed over. "Who do you think you are?" For a moment, I considered saying nothing. My past had stayed buried for years because I preferred peace over recognition. But an older neighbor walked forward before I could answer. "I know exactly who he is," the man said. "We served together overseas." Everyone looked at him. "He commanded one of the toughest Navy SEAL teams I ever worked alongside. Saved more lives than he'll ever admit." Silence spread across the street. Dylan stared at me in disbelief. I simply nodded. That was another life. His father's confidence disappeared. You were a SEAL?" "I was, now I'm retired." "Then why are you living here?" "Why fix your own fence?" I smiled. "Because peace is worth more than luxury. I don't need strangers to admire me." No one spoke. Dylan looked at the ground. "I thought the black belt meant I was unbeatable." "A belt," I said gently, "only reminds you that someone is always better. Real martial artists don't look for fights. They avoid them whenever possible." He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For everything." I extended my hand. He hesitated before shaking it. "If you truly want to improve," I said, "start with humility. Every great warrior learns that first." Over the next few weeks, something surprising happened. Dylan stopped showing off. Instead, he came over almost every evening asking if I would teach him discipline, awareness, and self-control. We never started with punches or kicks. We started by repairing fences, stacking firewood, helping elderly neighbors carry groceries, and learning patience. His father watched from a distance at first, confused by the change. Eventually, he joined us one Saturday to help repaint the neighborhood playground. For the first time since moving in, he thanked every volunteer personally. Months later, Dylan earned another martial arts award. During his acceptance speech, he held up his medal and said, "The greatest lesson I learned wasn't how to fight. It was learning when not to." The audience applauded, but he looked toward me, standing quietly in the back. I simply smiled. Titles fade, medals collect dust. Wealth comes and goes. But character, once earned through humility and service, becomes the strongest victory a person can ever carry.